Welcome back to our season finale of Risk Takers and Trailblazers podcast. We thought we would do a little bit of a more casual episode for you today, where we're just going to ask each other some questions about things we've learned, some advice we'd like to give, some high moments, low moments, all of it. And as usual, we are going to be very honest with all of our questions. We are not afraid to be vulnerable in these sessions. So we hope you enjoy. What should our first question be? I think,
I love
what
that.
is something that's changed for you
Yeah.
this year, personally or professionally?
Yeah, this is a good one. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Di, you
Yeah.
go first.
Hmm.
Okay. I would say the fear element. So going from, having Tanya say, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast?" Me being like, "No, are you kidding me? I can't do that." To last week being in front of 600 people on a stage moderating a
Nice.
panel. That was so outside of my scope of what I could handle. And now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I crushed it, but I was just like, I did it.
You crushed
Yeah.
it. Let's be
Amazing.
clear.
Yeah. So that's a big one
Yeah.
for me.
Amazing.
Nice. Yeah.
And you
I
probably feel, Di, that you were do you feel when well, I know because you tell us, but when you're done, you feel like I accomplished something and I'm super happy. I'm super proud of myself,
Yeah.
right? Because my mom once said to me, she said, with the public speaking thing, it's tough for me too. And she would always say, "Well, do you feel, here's your gauge. Do you feel better after like
Yeah.
that and not that it's just not better that it's over, but better that you have accomplished something and you're proud of yourself, right?"
Yeah.
So if the answer to that is yes, then I mean this is what my mom said,
We all should listen to our mothers.
Uh,
I think I think
Uh,
one of the quick takeaways and put a pre-plug for what we're going into for our next season is through your experience, Di, you opened up our eyes to say, that's actually a great topic to bring forward, which is
Hmm.
that confidence building in public speaking or speaking in front of others and put us on our own journey to go find someone that can potentially, we can share to our audience. So I thank you for sharing us in your journey for that for sure and look for that in the future.
yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool from that.
Well, Helen, you should
I,
go next. You've had the biggest change.
I
No.
was just gonna say, I think
Hmm.
for me, professionally, had the biggest change, and you're right, and that's making the decision to leave comfort, familiarity, people that I've worked with for a very long time, and move to a different organization to put myself out there a little bit different, stretch my wings, and do a different type of uh, rebuilding or building and growth. So I think that's my biggest one. But I wouldn't have been able to do that without having you guys in our squad, our podcast, because that, from a personal perspective, that's my also biggest change in this year and the end of last year. So that would be my takeaway from what's the biggest changes. I've moved from a very large organization to a mid-sized one and bring excitement every day back to building something. So I'm excited to join my new organization in AIM Insurance for sure.
I
Helen,
don't
can I
think,
ask you? Oh, sorry, I interrupted you,
Yeah.
Diane.
no, no. You go ahead. I was just going to say, don't think you understand how hard that is.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was like, because we were with you on that journey throughout the year. And I think change is hard. Uncertainty is really scary. And what were some of the things that helped you circumvent that or overcome that? And now that you're on the other side of that decision, it's been made, it's been done. How do you feel?
Yeah. I still have my moments to be truly transparent. There are day or mornings I'll be like, oh my God, did I do the right thing? And then I'll start my day and be like, okay, yes, I did, because I come
Mm,
away with a different challenge. And to be fair, I got to the point where I just didn't feel like I was challenging myself and I wasn't bringing my best self every day to my work, which is part of
mhm,
why I wanted the change. So to your other question of the change part being hard, it was absolutely. I weighed the pros and the cons left and right, for well, you guys all know how long I did it for, many, many months. And to get to the point of, okay, I need to do this for me. Bottom line
Yeah.
is I had to do what was right for me. And that took a lot of reflection, saying, okay, well, what do I want? I quoted Kinsley a few times, and what is my North Star? Where are my values aligned? Where is my next chapter going to start? And it was a struggle. It wasn't easy, and to anyone that's thinking about it, just really take those moments to reflect of what about me, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard because, again, 26 years, I am very connected to that prior organization. There's a lot of my life there. It was actually half of my life was with that organization, that I have to shift that now and move away from it. It's probably harder than my divorce, I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I believe
But
it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's all good, right? Change is good.
Yeah.
Fearing change is human. I think I read somewhere in some quotes recently is, if you don't fear change, then you're not challenging yourself, right? Because
Oh, I
what comes out
love
to the others,
that.
to
I
what's
really
coming
love
out
that.
on the other side, right? That's the better you're only going to improve every time you keep going, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm only going to level myself up. And you're going to do it, Di's going to do it, Jen's going to
Mhm.
do it, and whatever we do next. So that's the takeaway, is you're going to improve yourself, and that's what's important. And don't be
Yeah.
afraid.
And it's
And I
hard
know
to
fear is fear,
it's
but
it's hard to change, right? When you're in a pattern, whether it's professionally or personally, and
yes.
and that can be tough too. It's like, but I do agree, like the change is constant, even if you're not leaving a company, or you're not, leaving a marriage. It's that change is important, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to kind of even make those micro changes, even if there's nothing wrong, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you're not, moving companies, but it's been, 15 years or 20 years you're with the same organization, you're still allowed to reinvent yourself. You're still allowed to
Yeah,
sit down and talk about what are the things that you want now that you're at a different age. It's a
Mm-hmm.
different stage of the company. What is
absolutely.
revisiting that North Star, right? It doesn't all have to be, oh, I signed up for this exact same thing for 30 years or
Could
20 years, right?
could you imagine how boring the world would be, even from multimedia to day, if people didn't change and evolve? As
Yeah.
you were saying that, I was thinking about artists and music, and how people are constantly changing their genre or their appearance
Mm.
from a movie star or a musician, to evolve themselves and challenge themselves, or be in the in. But that's change, right? That's also not easy for them sometimes. So it's continuous evolution. The world would be so boring if nobody ever changed. It would just be like this. Could you imagine? It would be like
Yeah.
black and white TV all over again.
It's funny that you say that, because when we look back at the nuclear family, post-war nuclear family, and that generational cohort, people didn't change.
No.
They didn't want change. They've been
Bingo.
through these wars. They're done, and when they got a job, that was their job. Like that
Yeah.
was it
They
until they
just, yeah.
retire. And so really it wasn't until the digital era really came in, and the little disruptor millennials that are like, I don't want to work at the same company for the rest of my life and climb that corporate
Mhm.
ladder, that we really saw this renaissance of progress, whether it's that rapid, I mean, if we look at the rapid um, evolution of digital tools, of AI right now, and how exponentially fast that's growing, and how there are jobs today that didn't exist 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. And
Right.
it's so
Crazy.
that change, that progress, that's questioning the status quo, the this doesn't have to be this way, that every generation, every cohort brings into the picture. That is what I love to see. I love it. I love it. And
Mhm.
and it's up to like whoever's watching or listening to think, what are you challenging, whether it's in your own life or what you're seeing? What questions are you asking? What are you noticing? And how do you want to either be a part of that change or maybe move away from that, because that's not
Mhm.
necessarily who you are anyway, anymore.
Mhm.
And it's happening younger and younger, right? I think when we were, coming up, you were starting a life and you were it was really kind of, I mean, speaking for myself, it was really reactive versus
Mhm.
proactive, right? And so threw myself into situations potentially for a it served me really well, but it wasn't necessarily well thought out, I guess, if you will, right? And I think as you get older, mid 40, early 40s, mid 40s or later, you start to have these questions about, well, wait a sec.
Mhm.
Hey, I have built all this up. It
Mhm.
was somebody was on our podcast, and what did she say? She said, how am I still sitting here with everything that I wanted and still wanting more? Remember? Who was that? Was that Sheila? Was it
No, that
you?
was me. I said
That
that
was
on
you who
Sheila's
said it.
podcast. I said, I feel like I reached all my goals. I got married. I
Yes.
have the kids. I have the house. I have the car. Um, what I
Yeah.
felt like I was stuck. Like, and it's really interesting that you say that because I read a book. Thank you, Christy and Jen. You know who you are because you're on my chat group. They recommended a book called The Dose Effect, and it's about how we need goals. We need
Yeah.
constant goals
Mm.
because our serotonin, dopamine levels need something to aspire to. And when I
Yeah.
was like, even a year ago, I just felt like, is this it? I felt really I wouldn't even say bored. Like I'd say like ennui, that French saying ennui, or I forget what it's called,
Mhm.
but I just didn't feel that
Hmm.
fire anymore. It was just like, okay. And
Yeah.
Yep.
so it's
And I
really
think the
interesting that
world of
there's
digital has opened, that was your point, is the
Mhm,
world of digital has opened that up. Whereas it before, it was like, what do you mean? Of course we're doing this for 30 years. This is life, right?
Yeah.
mhm,
And
mhm,
now it's like, oh, okay, you're seeing people up en route, move across the world. Well, that didn't happen in our grandparents. I mean, they may have immigrated, but they weren't thinking, hey, we're gonna
Yeah.
come to Canada and then, oh yeah, we're gonna go to the Bahamas next. Like, and
mhm,
it's all gonna be, you know
mhm.
what I mean? And so I think it's yeah, it's wild. And I think that's kind of that frame of reference where it's like actually you can pretty much, reinvent yourself at really any age.
It's funny because I have a memory of my mom just popped into my head where I had just gotten divorced. We had just sold our company. I was, going into a new relationship, different things. And I remember she said to me, she's like, "You're just so different now." And I think she was coming as a negative because she was
Hmm.
so used to
Mhm.
me being the same way.
Mhm.
We worked together for 20 years. I did things a certain way. And I turned to her and I was like, "Good. I'm glad. I should be. I'm in my
Uh,
40s. It should be
Mhm.
different than
yeah.
Diane from her 20s. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should be. Thank you."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
thanks, Mom.
I love that.
So
Celebrate that all day long.
oh my gosh. So Jen, what's something that's changed for you? I know this, I feel like this has been a year of change for all of us, but Jen, why don't you talk to us
Yeah,
about
I
that?
think for me, and I'm still learning it, so it's probably goes hand in hand with the next question, but I definitely think I've learned to take better care of myself. So you
Mhm.
can't operate at 120 all the time. And as you get older, I used to when I was younger and I could do it. I can't anymore and not listen to my body, have that downtime, sleep super important. And I just don't feel the more and more it goes on, I don't feel as negative towards that. So if I'm tired, I'm
Mhm.
sleeping, period. Like,
Right.
it doesn't matter
Love
if
it.
it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, I'm sleeping.
Mhm.
If,
Mhm.
I've been on the road for a week, and I know I have pressing things and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it's a work day and I just got, no, I'm sleeping. Right. So it's really just kind of listening to those things. I still struggle with the downtime, so I'm learning how to like this week we've been at the lake all week. I'm always at this lake, okay? So it's not like it's like something new, right? And I'm itching. Like I've had to really be like, and it's only day 4, work day 4. I've done a few things, but I've had to really be like, it's okay not to. It's okay
Mm.
to read the book. It's okay, I don't know, to do nothing, right? So that's really hard for me, very
Mhm.
difficult for me. So I'm really learning. I said to my husband yesterday, I said, do you want to just go back to the city? He's like, no, we plan to be here. Like, this is what we're doing. So
But that
that,
that goes back to your question of even or comment about change is hard that we just talked about, right?
Mhm.
That's a change in you, right? And it's not easy, but the fact that you recognized it is something you should celebrate, right?
Mhm.
And you're spot on with when you're tired, you just sleep. When you're cranky, you take a walk. When you need 10 minutes alone, you sit down and do what, brings Jen back to center,
yeah,
right? Those are all great things to have learned. So you should be
yeah.
proud of yourself.
And Jen, have you found, because I know we were first talking when the season started, you were getting sick a lot.
Yes.
And now that you're taking care of yourself more, you're putting yourself first
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, more. I'm trying
more.
to do it all
It's
the
an
time.
evolution. It's not
It's
all
an
or nothing. It's
evolution. Yeah, but you're
progress.
right. I'm not getting as sick, right?
Hmm.
Um, sleep, so I really prioritize sleep now. Like
Hmm.
it's like, and yeah, so I'm not getting as sick, right? So that's the follow. You can tell as you get into your 40s, it's like your
Hmm.
body basically says, "Oh, sorry. Yeah, the candle you used to burn at both ends all the time and served you well, I guess, up until
Yeah.
this point, but it's no more, right? So still
Mhm.
learning to adjust with that downtime, but and really kind of trying to explore, I've got a pretty good idea where these things come from, but really trying to explore what that productivity, but you hit a wall, and that's the wall that you
Hmm.
saw, when I'm getting
Mhm.
sick all the time. It's like
Hmm.
that's the wall to say, product, and what really happens is that if you want to keep those levels of like performance, you just realize that you're now just spinning your wheels, and the more you go on, it's not about working more.
Mhm.
That's not,
No,
it's not really, it's, you know what I mean? That's not gonna solve the problem.
no,
So
no. And what about you, Tan? You've
Yeah,
heard from
I
us.
think
What's
I think I have two. I think I have professional and personally. On a personal level, I know Helen, you've been with me on this journey. I had a very confronting year. We had a family tragedy, and it
Mhm.
put things in perspective. And one of those things was taking care of your health, and how important your health is to everything else. And so I really prioritized that. I started doing a lot of research on nutrition and supplementing and exercise, and not just that, but like being outside more, being really taking care of my mind and body.
Yeah.
And it's hard prioritizing that and making time for that. And I feel a lot better. I feel like I have more mental focus. I feel
Mhm.
like I'm a lot more flexible. And like the other day I was lifting
Mm.
something. I was like, this is much easier to lift than it was 5 months ago. And I feel great, and it's really easy. There are some weeks where I just don't want to. I don't want to like keep that routine, and I don't want to keep it going. But then when you think of like the long-term gains that you're getting from it, and possibly even the mental and physical longevity, especially when you're in
Mhm.
your 40s as women. I say it specifically for women because we have that thing called perimenopause and menopause that really starts to decay a lot of stuff for us if we're not careful.
Mhm.
So prioritizing that was huge. And then I guess on a professional level, it was really trying to find my spark again. I felt like I lost it a little bit. I felt a little bit like I'm someone who needs to be constantly learning new things. Or I guess I'm a knowledge seeker. And you'll see that in the podcast. The research says, like I'm always quoting articles I read in research. I'm the nerd. That can sometimes be annoying, but so yeah, putting myself out there more, volunteering, joining,
Yes.
different things, and just learning something a bit more outside of my skill set, which is marketing and communication. I'm learning a lot actually with my alma mater university. I'm on one of their teams that they're trying to do like a strategic planning for the next 7 years in a very fast evolving digital world. And I'm just learning so much about strategic planning and working with different people, and it's been like it's really lighting my fire, and it's making me better in my own job at TrueFlux because it's making me see things differently now and
Yes.
connecting the dots more. So I really do recommend that if you are starting to feel a little bit of a professional stagnation, maybe look at joining a board or volunteering
Mm.
or doing something else like that for sure.
I think that's spot on advice, Tan.
I
for
think
sure.
that's a really good point too. Like, we started the conversation with saying, growth and changing companies potentially and changing your path, but that doesn't always have to be changing your company. You can grow
Agreed.
within an organization that has the bandwidth for that, or you can go to boards like you mentioned, or charities, or
Yeah.
start a podcast. This was
Mm,
lovely.
It's just a tiptoe. It's
mm,
that tiptoe, right? Yeah.
mm,
Whatever it
Oh,
is
it's
you're
the
drawn to, go there in some
yeah,
capacity
Yeah.
and
yeah.
allow it to evolve in any way that it can,
Yeah.
essentially.
Even if it feels scary or even if it feels, different. I do think one of the other things that I focused a little bit more on since late last year, and definitely more into this year, was going out and doing things on my own,
mm,
Mm,
just me. And I would never have done necessarily that before. And, I'm sure lots of other people do it, but, it took a lot for me to go into a restaurant and eat by myself, right? Or I went to a concert by myself, or I go
mm,
find a new park to for the dog to discover. Those are things that I do now on my own because that
mhm.
mm,
is part of the change and the growth and all of those things,
Yeah.
right? And going back to Tanya's point of, you know, that's the personal spark that's changed, right? That's put me back in a different place to go and do these things on my own.
And do you find too, when you get that personal spark kind of reignited, it might bring you into bring a new energy when in your work, or if
Absolutely.
you're doing something else that was,
Absolutely.
you get
Yeah.
it from somewhere else. So,
Yeah, I think it is all connected. Even though we talk about, what's your professional change, your professional growth, and your personal change, your personal growth, they're all connected because you're still that same person. And this is where you need to learn that balance, but also you're right on there, Di, is that they do build the other. Because if you're cranky at work, guess who's getting the remnants of that? Your home. If you're cranky at home or
mm,
struggling at home, guess where you're not necessarily, not all the time, because it can do the reverse. If you're not happy in one, then you're going to overachieve in the other because you're
Yeah.
searching for something else, right? This is where that balance is to find that happiness in both of them,
Yeah.
right?
mm.
well,
Look at you and your
Cheers.
risk takers, Mark.
Oh my
Cheers to that. I didn't
goodness.
bring mine down.
So, should we talk about highs and lows? Let's be honest. What are some big highs we've
Oh,
had and some lows? Because I love talking about lows. I think
Mm.
sometimes people only, especially on LinkedIn, you only see the highs in people's lives. You don't, and then you kind of start to feel bad about yourself. So I like to be really honest about some of the lows we've experienced.
me, the lows were like the getting really, really sick. Back
Mm,
to back. It was ridiculous. But I think it was more kind of the mental aspect that came with that, not so much that I was sick. I mean, it was a terrible flu back to back, but it wasn't, you know, so I think it was that personal reflection of, oh, wait a sec, some things need to change.
mhm.
Um, and still going through that change, but I think that for me was a big low. Um, yeah, I don't know what it is. You turn 40, you're just over 40, and it's like
It's
it's just
true.
it's a weird space, 40. Like there's a lot of great things, but there's a lot of also reflection. And like you said, 10, if you've had family tragedies and stuff, that really expedites it, right? Because you're
Mhm.
you're thinking about life and you're thinking about time and you're thinking about, I mean, you're thinking about everything, let's be honest. I actually
Mhm.
thought that. Why? I have never thought so much in my entire life. What is going on? Right? But that was a low for me for sure. This
Mm,
recognize that I'm not as fast, I'm not as quick,
Mhm.
I'm not invincible. I can't
mm.
outwork. I can't, these types of things for the rest of my life, right?
Mhm.
So who else?
I think
My
from a
lows.
low per
Oh, sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go no, go Tan. But go.
Yeah. Okay. So nice. I
I'm
think some
thinking.
lows for me were some things came to head that I thought I was managing really well, and that is managing
Mm.
being a mom and working. I think
Mm,
really it was a very confrontational year for me because there were some other things about me that I realized through that, and maybe I'll talk about it later on, but the overstimulation I get from being a parent, I feel like is brutal for me, because I am a very introverted, might not seem like it, but I need a lot of quiet time for my energy to build. It's not sleeping. And I used to confuse the two, but I'm sleeping so much. It's that quiet time where nobody is talking to me or asking me questions, where I can just sit in peace. And I didn't give my space for that. I scheduled every minute of every day, and I just burnt out. And combined with that unfortunate family tragedy that was horrendous,
Mm-hmm.
I burnt out. And I had to learn the hard way that as an introvert, I have to say no to social things. I can't
Mm-hmm.
overbook my calendar. Even at work, I can't have too many meetings in one week. I burn out. So that was a very like, you know what? I get overstimulated. That is part of how my brain works. So if I have too many meetings, like 2 days in a row, the next day I'm going to block out a full half day just for quiet thinking time. At night, I have to tell my husband, you need to put the kids to bed. I need a solid hour and a half of just no auditory stimulation. And it's been really good. It's been really great to realize that.
Tan, do you think like, so we all have friends that we talk to around this age, but do you think this was, I always feel like, were these things that are just coming up now? Or do you feel like, I feel like, and I think about this as I reflect on raising kids, I feel like maybe we should have been doing this stuff the whole time.
I think
Maybe there
so.
should have been more reflection on this is the type of person I am. Like my son seems to have this stuff, some of this stuff really figured out, right? He's very introverted. And sometimes I'm like, oh, come on over to or let's have someone over or whatever. And he'll be like, well, no, and he's not even bothered by it. He's just like flat out, no, that's all good. I'll invite one friend, not three, right? Or it's time for this person to go home. Can you tell them the play date is over? Right. So he's just very, and he doesn't like miss a beat. He's not upset about it. And so I feel like there is this, whereas I actually didn't have a lot of these personal reflections, honestly, until this later on in life. So,
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Generational shift, right? We didn't talk
Yeah.
about this stuff. And I also thought my introversion was a weakness. So I thought, no, people
mhm,
are supposed to be super social. I should be able to handle working a whole day and being a mom all night. Everybody else is doing it. I'm just a bad person. I'm weak. Why can't
mhm,
I have 3 days full of meetings and not feel like absolute crap at the end of it? So I had a lot of self-loathing. I wouldn't even call it imposter syndrome. It was just like, it was more like, why am I like this? And everybody else is like this. And this is why I'm talking about it, because if you feel that way too, you're not alone.
yeah,
30% of
mhm,
us are introverted people who absolutely, we thrive on quiet time. That's when we do our best thinking and our best filling up our battery again. But I
Yeah.
think we didn't talk about it, and we tried to fit in more. Like I kept
yeah,
trying to fit in back then, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think you led the topic well in saying, we only see the highs, and that's
mhm,
thanks to social media, your Instagram and your Facebook. And I think when we start to shift some of that perspective to say it's not all glitz and glamour, right? And usually that's the way those that overpost, mind you, I do know I'm a happy poster some days, but you need to share the good and the bad, right? The highs and the lows, because it's not always okay on the other side. But that's the part where we're at. That's why we're doing what we're doing on the podcast. Is not that we're here to talk about our lows all the time, but we're here to regulate the conversation to say these are valid topics, and not just in our age bracket. I being the older one here, in the group, like it happens at all stages, right? It can
mhm,
happen anyway at any point in time in your life. And to your point, Tan, my favorite time is on a Saturday or Sunday when there is nobody home and I get to clean the house with my music blaring, and it's just me, and there's no methodical way to clean. That's the best clean, right? It's not just do
Hmm.
one room. I'll do one room and then I'll go to another and find something else to do there. So there's no set plan. There's not that that scheduled cleaning. I'm going to start at the back of the house and I'm going to go all the way to the front, or and
Mhm.
I'm going to do the floors first. But it's the cleaning I get the most satisfaction out and the most reset is when I just have all day to putter.
Yeah.
Right? I'll
Mhm.
clean and I'll
Mhm.
organize and I putter as I go.
Mhm.
So
So what's your low, Helen, for the year?
I think well, we a mixture of personal and professional together, and the low really was finding my joy again, right?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Finding my passion. And that came from, you know, the closure of not only my past job or where I've worked for so long, but I also had a relationship end as well in there. So it was
Mhm.
redefining Helen, and all of that has realigned to the Helen today, which takes the time every morning now to make sure that she listens to a great podcast that she then shares and spams all of you guys with. As, oh my God, you need to listen to this, and you need to go to this spot. Tan and I swear, have the best
Me
conversations.
too.
uh her early morning for me and not so early for her, as she's so many hours ahead of us. But that's the shift, is going back to, I need to start to work out every morning, which I've gone back to doing, and then I walk the dog, and then I do the podcast. Right, I've now implemented a 10-minute meditation in the morning before I even get out of bed,
Yeah.
Mhm.
to start that journey again of my inside healing. So I think that would be my low, is realizing that there is, as much as I thought I was good on the inside, I really wasn't.
Hmm.
Right, and a lot of things have broke down, and the new door that I walked through, the changes, will only make me better.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's interesting. I was listening to something very short this morning that was talking about routine and the
Mm,
power in um, the power in routine and just letting yourself off the hook for those small decisions. So 10 for you, if
Mhm.
it's like, oh, from 3 to 4 every single day is quiet time, no negotiations, then it's
yeah,
like you've just freed yourself from that decision. Or it's working out every morning for 30 minutes, then it's like you don't have to be like, oh, I'll go at noon or I'll go at, 10,
Mhm.
after
yeah,
work. It's like that's just
yeah,
BS. It's like
yeah,
keep it in the routine, and then there's freedom in the routine, right?
yeah.
I
I
love
agree with
that.
that.
How about you, Diane?
I would say June was my low. And maybe it's just because it's the most prevalent in my head, but I had just a couple weeks where I thought, again, to the points we've been talking about, like that I could do it all. I
Mm.
solo parented for 2 weeks. I,
Mm,
took the kids, then we took the kids to BC for a trip, and then the opportunity to go to Toronto really came with short notice. And it was like, how do I say no to that? I have to do
right.
it.
Mhm.
But what we don't, what not everybody maybe like, okay, I don't want to say it, but like what men might not have to deal with if they get asked to
Yeah,
go do an opportunity is I had to prep the house for the kids.
Mhm.
Not because my husband wasn't here, because he could have handled that, but because I had to bring in my mom to watch the kids. So set up the rooms for her, set up like get everything for the kids, because my husband was out of town on a work trip too.
Mhm.
mm,
And so it was like 3 weeks of absolute crazy insanity. And then we got to a point where, and I know we've talked about this too, where when everything around you is chaotic or
yep.
Mhm.
or
Or
not,
feels chaotic at least.
my brain hit overload.
Yeah.
I actually I did a session with Sheila, who was on the podcast. I did like a
You
half-hour
Mhm.
did?
session. Yeah. And the
That's
word I
awesome.
used is frazzled. My laundry's not caught up. My office is a
Mm,
dumping grounds. I just felt like the environment around me got so
Mm,
neglected and
yeah,
cluttered, and I couldn't think clearly.
yeah.
And I say it like it's past. It's not. I'm still trying to get out of the June gong show that happened, but like I hit a wall this week, earlier this week, where it was like, oh my gosh,
right.
okay. And I just have to kind of sit back and be like, that was a
It's
lot.
really tough. It's
A
so tough
lot.
to
Yeah,
balance
Yeah.
all the things,
yeah,
and then it's easy for the comparisons to come in. It's like even we've been out here, right? And we've been out here from Canada Day, and it's a week and there's no grocery store for a half an hour. And I'm like, I didn't plan properly. right? And I'm like, oh, I'll just go in and it's fine. I can go in and grocery shop. The point really was is like I just didn't feel like I had all the things and the s'mores and then this. And it's like then you see like the
Mm.
Pinterest mom over there who's got like,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm. That
next
damn
door.
Pinterest mom. I know.
And I'm thinking like, I just said to James, I'm like, well, why don't I have all this stuff like the macaroni salad made? And he's like, babe, you were literally worked up till 5. We grabbed 3 additional children to bring out here. Like, don't worry.
Yeah.
I
But
love
it's that
James.
kind of like, and meanwhile, laundry at home and all these things.
Yeah,
It's like these impossible standards. Like,
Oh, and
that's
it's exhausting too.
crazy.
Like while you're making those memories for your kids by taking them there, it's making everything
yeah,
else so much harder.
right?
Like,
Hmm.
Like
even
they don't care that the macaroni salad's done. They will care if there's no s'mores, but we've handled that.
but they're probably
Crisis averted.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So we're coming up on time, so maybe we'll just end it by saying one thing that and we'll keep that we won't discuss it. We'll just say like one sentence of what we learned from the podcast this year.
Connection is my like
Yes.
connection
Mhm.
with you guys, connection with our guests, and connection even that we've been experiencing now on social media, like the growth
Hmm.
that the community has been giving us. Like I love it all. So yeah, connection. If I had to do one word.
Hmm. I would say growth,
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
and that's for each one of us, for our families, and everyone around us, as personal and professional. It would be growth. Yeah.
Nice.
Hmm.
I would say support.
Mm,
I love that one too.
hmm.
I think there's probably been nothing that I have done in the last few years that has been as supportive, especially just the stage of my life and career wise and you guys, but our guests as well. So much
Yes.
insight, so much perspective. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say inspiration. I've never felt more
Mm.
inspired than this year. I think just the hearing other women speak about their journeys and their struggles and their wins, it just made me feel less alone. And it
Hmm.
made me feel inspired to put myself outside my comfort zone, but
Mhm.
also confront the uncomfortable things that you just kind of ignore because you don't want to deal with it. So it was definitely
Yeah.
an inspiring year.
I think those are all four our new tag words
yeah.
Mm.
and our North
There's,
Stars.
look, we just created our values for risk
Yeah, that's our
takers.
value statement right
Nice.
there.
Fabulous.
Nice. Look at us. Well, that's a wrap for season 3. We will be back in the fall for season 4. We're already lining up guests, but if you do want to be on the podcast or know someone that you think would be great on the podcast, please let us know. We do want to do more specialty topics on public speaking, on mental health at the workplace, on navigating relationship and work-life balance, or any ideas. Just
Hmm.
message us on LinkedIn or send us an email. I'll pop all of the information below. But thank you for an incredible season, your support, and your just being here with us. Thank you.